Good evening. This is the March 18th, 2015 meeting of the Finance Committee. Our agenda this evening, at 7 o'clock, our call to order. We don't have any transfers tonight. The budgets we'll be reviewing in this order will be the Police Department, the Department of Development and Inspectional Services, and that whole kingdom under Darlene. The Zoning Board of Appeals, Solid Waste, Human Resources, and Town Hall. We'll review some minutes from January of 2014, and then we'll adjourn. Also, at this point, next week, we've got the school department in for their budget, and the fire department is scheduled in the following week on May 1st. So relative to the budget, just a quick, if we could have an overview of where we stand on the budget, Ed?
Sure. When we kicked the budget off, I said there were three question marks, and one of the question marks is no longer a question mark. Bay Path assessment came in as a result of the governor's House 1 budget being released. And the assessment came in roughly $73,000 and change higher than what we had projected. And we knew that that was a possibility as a result of an increased enrollment of 12 students. We knew what our capital assessment was going to be, but what the cost for those additional 12 were unknown. So when we plugged that new number, it put us about $75,000 in the hole. But we did receive some news this week and received a check from Bay Path as a result of their bond sale. We got a refund of $37,000. So what I plan on doing is depositing that check in a reserve and using that as an offset to the assessment, the capital assessment for FY16. That's what that money needs to be used for. So if you boil all that down, right now we are running at about a $36,868 deficit. We are not prepared to address that at this time. I can tell you that the governor's numbers would wash that away. We have, but it's too premature to count on any additional revenue for the Commonwealth, given the fact that they need to address a $1.5 billion structural deficit. What position the House and the Senate will take, we don't know. So I'd like to ride this out for a few weeks to see what we are hearing out of Boston. It may even carry that into town meeting. But we'll have a backup plan if, in fact, we cannot bank on any additional state revenue as an offset to this deficit.
Okay. Thanks, Ed. Any questions for Ed? Just general? Okay, regarding the budgets, the police department chief's here, Lieutenant Harrigan. Nice to see you both. Thanks for coming up. Chief, if you could, just a quick overview. I know that some of your budget requests, I think, for some additional staff, we couldn't take care of those this year per the town manager's recommendation. A couple of thoughts on that, if you want to or not.
We understand, I know there was the land acquisition and, things happen, and, you people as a board as well as the town administration has repeatedly showed your support for us and for our personnel issues and the vacancies that we have, and we appreciate that, and hopefully we can take a whack at it next year.
Okay, appreciate that. Appreciate you working with the town on that. The police requested budget by town manager, the overall budget request is $4,085,183, which is almost an $89,000 increase over prior year, or just over it's actually 2.09%. The chief's request, including these positions that we couldn't fill, was $4.2 million, or would have been a 6.2% increase over prior year. Actually, unless you've anything else to add, Chief, I'm just going to open this up to questions. I know you've got another commitment tonight.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, that'd be fine. Not really much has changed. It's a level-funded budget with the exception of contractual obligations. Nothing has increased. The only significant change would be a $10,000 decrease to our overtime account. that we've been working with the town administration on. Other than that, everything is, it's a level funded budget, same amount of personnel. We haven't hired, anyone to fill those two positions, but pretty much status quo from last year. Lieutenant
Chief.
Harrigan's done a great job running the budget over the past year, as she always does.
She's been doing that for a long time now.
Yeah, she has. Yeah, if you have any questions, sure, I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you may
Yeah,
have.
I'll open that up. Anyone? Questions or comments for the chief? Anything else, Ian?
I think she's good.
Oh, yes, Kim?
Chief, can you tell me how many officers, sergeants, lieutenants do you have?
Right now, we've got 2 lieutenants, 7 sergeants, and 27 patrolmen, and myself.
And you have no vacant positions, vacant funded positions at this time?
I do. I have 1 vacant position that is funded and 2 positions that are not funded.
You have one vacant patrol position?
Yes, we've advertised for a lateral transfer, and we're waiting to see if we get any qualified candidates.
I was just trying to find your overtime account and see, you said that you've cut 10,000 out of it.
Yes.
You've expended 100 and, oh, no, wait a minute. You've expended 86 as of the end of February.
You're probably about 100.
So you're projecting to have a surplus in that account based on,
Not necessarily, only because come May and June, everyone has to use their accrued time by July 1st. And everybody has a tendency to save their vacation time for the warmer weather. So all of the overtime for May and June,
eat
those
that
are our
up.
2 worst months out of the entire year. So to say that we'd have a surplus, I couldn't say. I can say that we're in relatively decent shape right now, but I don't know. There's been times, as you well know, I've had to come in for transfers just before the end of the fiscal year.
right. The reason for my question, Chief, is that if we're cutting 10 out of it and I look at the 3-year average of 200,000, is that a prudent thing to do at this point? Cut 10?
There's been a change in scheduling on the last contractual negotiations, which resulted in some savings in overtime.
Okay, so you're confident that,
Yeah, we believe.
barring any unforeseen...
We believe 180 will be adequate to meet the needs of the department.
It should be.
And Chief, my last question is, if we were to suddenly get a windfall, what would be your number one priority to fund that is not funded here?
Personnel. Filling the 2 vacant positions that aren't funded.
And those are both patrol positions, or,
They are.
and what's the cost of those positions?
Probably,
Individually, just what's a patrolman cost?
I'm sorry?
What is just one patrolman at, starting, whatever? Yeah,
Although top step is like 65,000,
Yeah.
there's contractual obligations there for clothing and fitness and whatnot.
Okay.
So probably for the 2 positions, maybe 141,000, that's salary alone.
okay.
Yeah, and you're bumping up against 200,000 if you include other fringe benefits such as
The
health,
Health
retirement.
insurance and
Yeah.
retirement,
Yeah, and it would depend if they were Quinn Bill eligible or not.
okay. Eddie, in the contract with the police officers, do new hires get Quinn Bill?
It depends. If they're currently receiving it and they're enrolled in the program from another department, then they're eligible. If they're not currently receiving it, then they're not eligible. Like, for example, the last 4 people that we've hired, and it would be, this was going to be my comment to Mr. Bonafiglio, but I understand that he couldn't make it, is that the last 4 people we've hired are not participating in the Quinville program.
So if you're laterally transferring from someplace else and they're getting Quinville,
They would get it here.
current place, they would get it in Auburn, but if they're laterally transferring from someplace where they didn't get Quinville,
Then they're not eligible, right?
gotcha. So eventually Quinville's gonna go away.
Over the course of time,
Eventually, once,
it will,
in the contract, has it been replaced with anything?
no. No, it is not.
No educational stipend or anything?
No.
No.
Thank you, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Ian?
Question. Thanks, Chief. I want to just talk about the overtime, but first I want to talk about the Quinville, just to make sure people understand what the towns have had to take on, because the state doesn't, kind of broke their promise to reimburse the towns for that. Do we we used to get what percentage reimbursement for the Quinville, and what do we get now?
They used to, it was 50% was from the state, and then the
Yep.
town did the other 50%. Right now, we don't get anything
So
from
we
the
don't get
state.
anything, okay. So, that's a big cost the town took on. And my other comment is, I think I noticed last year, the overtime recount was reduced by 10,000 also.
It was.
So that's, at least an offset there to kind of make up for for the fact that we don't get any of that Quinville money anymore from the state. Okay. And that was all I wanted to say right now.
That's fine. Anything else? Same question I ask every year, Chief. You have enough bullets?
We do.
Okay, that's good. Now, once again, I'll say a solid budget. Thank you, Lieutenant Harrigan. I know you put together something pretty good every year. Kim?
One more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chief, now that you've got like more than a year's experience with the repair of your vehicles through the towns, are you finding that the cost for you, it has decreased significantly, or
Well,
what's your experience with that?
as far as cost goes, the money that was in our repair line item has shifted to the DPW, so I don't see the receipts anymore as to exactly what we're spending. But I would feel relatively confident saying that the town is seeing a significant savings by implementing the program that they have.
And how about the condition of the vehicles? Has it improved by having in-house rather than having to wait till you break down to send it out?
Well, when we outsourced it before, we received good service. I couldn't speak negatively about the service that we received, but I can tell you that the mechanics at the DPW, they really do bend over backwards to try and help keep it. And it's not just us. I mean, they fix the ambulances, they fix the fire trucks. They really, they do a great job considering there's only a couple of them over there.
Thank you.
And further to that, back in fiscal 12 and 13, we spent on motor vehicle repair, and I know that doesn't capture all of your expenses related to the vehicles. We spent nearly 33 grand in fiscal 12 and over 24,000 in fiscal 13, so I know that doesn't really do justice to all the work that's being done on it, but that's a lot of savings, and I know it's being picked up by DPW, so
Yeah, they really do a terrific job.
good. Well, glad you're happy with that, too. You got to be,
We are, and I had a little bit of hesitation when we first, the idea was launched of doing that program, but it's worked out really well.
that's great. Okay, we've got a budget before us. Town manager recommends a $4,085,183 budget, a 2.09% increase over prior year. Do you have a motion on this?
Motion?
Second?
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
And Mallory's abstaining. Great. Chief, thank you very much. Lieutenant, nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
And thank you once again for all of your support. You guys have always been great to work with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, moving right along. Oh, yeah, hey, Chief, before you leave, I apologize, Roxanne. We're also at least opening up for questions regarding CIP. I guess first question is, any needs that are being totally not put in place yet? I know you get some stuff deferred to 2021. And otherwise, I'm just going to open it up to questions here. I don't want to go through item by item on this. I don't think that's necessary. Any questions? Chief, you're comfortable with where things stand? I know a lot of it is leases on the cruisers, and that's a lot of the expense.
Yep, no, we've Lieutenant Harrigan and myself, we've worked a lot with Ed regarding CIP, and he's been very, very helpful.
Okay.
Just a comment, we're no longer leasing police vehicles.
Oh, good,
So it's a straight
corrected.
outright purchase.
good.
We use the infusion of the tax levy dollars under the financial policy plan, $100,000 per year, to address some of our larger leases. So I can tell you, town road improvement, the police vehicles are no longer funded through leases, so we're not paying interest on those dollars.
So so what do you estimate the savings is?
Pretty significant. If we borrowed, and there was a time we were borrowing, leasing for 3 vehicles, interest over a 3-year period for those vehicles, probably, I would say, in the vicinity of maybe $12,000.
It adds up.
So, I mean, if you add that up with other leases, then the savings are pretty significant. Able to work or save those dollars to the taxpayers and frees up dollars that can go back into the operational side of the budget as well.
Good. And related, you have any more questions? Related, unrelated, I understand that we're in the middle of going after a grant that may take care of your heating system issue in the police station.
Yeah, I know that they have applied for one. I don't know what percentage of the cost it would cover, but it's a step in the right direction.
Okay, I know that it come up a couple weeks ago. I guess that's what, next month?
Under
that's
the
gonna
Green
be?
Communities Grant, I think that it has to be submitted by the end of this month, and then the award would be made June, July-ish.
Okay. Still a next year thing?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other questions on the CIP? Great. Chief, thanks again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, now we have the Department of Development and Inspectional Services, which includes planning, public health, building inspections, conservation, animal control. Darlene, that's a mouthful, I'm not going to say that again. You've had a lot of changes going on under your umbrella there, and I was hoping you could give us just a few comments on what's going on, some changes. I know there's been staff adds, staff moving around, a little bit of refocusing, so if you could fill us in on that, that'd be great.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
So our department has been definitely a reorganization almost of the past year. We have had three positions, three staff members leave. Adam Burney, Nick Antenovica, and Chris Lund. And we have had new positions and new people come in a short amount of time. So many changes have happened. We've had a lot of really good improvements, people that are very excited to be in the positions. The building inspector, as you know, Caleb Moody, helped us out during the interim when Nick departed, and he actually was named to the position, and we're thrilled to have him. We also still have Nick on contract to provide service to us. He's been very generous with his time and assistance to Caleb, so we are very gracious and grateful for that. We had a new planner start within the past several months as well. Matt Benoit has been very excited to be here. We have gotten the full-time animal control position, which I'm just thrilled to have. That position was filled by 2 on-call personnel, so having the full-time position back in place is just a huge improvement for the department and for the town residents. That has been a very big help. And we also added a new position this year, permitting assistant. The administration was very supportive and helpful in us being able to improve the department needs. We have a lot of applications and money come through the department, and it's obviously something we want to try to minimize the amount of time that processing happens, and so all that takes manpower. So we were able to get that position started, so that position is new, and currently we have that as a 8-hour per week position. So many changes, a lot of reorganization. We're all kind of fairly new in the positions, but it also gives us a great advantage because we're all looking for the best way to do things. We're very flexible. It's a team of people that if we recognize there's something that's a deficiency, we find a way to try to fill that and change. So we've had a lot of changes. We anticipate more changes happening. We are not at full staff as of yet. We do have a assistant building inspector that still needs to be hired that will be coming this spring. So we'll be doing that in the next coming months. So once we actually get it full staffing levels, we'll be able to kind of assess and see what our needs and priorities are. With that, we do have a budget that we're presenting this evening that's just under a 1% increase. There are some changes that I'd be more than happy to highlight. There's some contractual changes for clerical staff. So those are the contractual requirements, obviously, we have to meet. So there's a reflection of that for salary. We have, as mentioned, the animal control position. So what we did is we took the animal inspector and dog officer budgets, and we actually combined those to make it more simplified and easier to understand. We're fortunate enough to have a lot of support from the police department for the animal control officer because that's a position that's constantly out in the field. Police have provided us use of a vehicle from a vehicle that they are not in need of at this time, so we're using it for our animal control officer to be able to go out into the field. So we have some changes there because it's an older vehicle, it's about 10 years old or so. We have put in some funding there for anticipated repairs through the facilities department. But for the most part, we basically took those two budgets, put them into one, and reflected that into a single budget. Additionally, we have the permitting assistant. I think you'll see under the building and code division, we have the permitting assistant salary in there. And we currently are at 8 hours per week for that position. We would like to request 12 hours per week, recognizing that the staff that fills that position is a huge help to us. Obviously, any money coming into the department, any applications, any processing of certificates and occupancy permits and so forth is something that we want to improve the time that it comes in and goes out. So we have recognized that if we're able to request some hours, obviously we would very much appreciate that. So you'll see a reflection from what the previous salary was and added into the permitting assistant. And then there is a decrease in the planner director salary from the position that Adam had previously held into a reflection of the increase for the acting director and health director's position. So those, I think, highlight the changes that are in this budget, and I'd be more than happy to try to clarify any questions that you might have.
Great, appreciate that, thank you. Your total budget is, town manager recommends $434,489, just under 1% increase. I'm just going to mention very quickly where you've got several divisions within that. The planning division, the request was for $94,031, which is an 18% decrease. We got the building and code enforcement division. That total request is $108,709, a 7.8% increase. Conservation Commission, $13,594, a 5.35% increase. In the Animal Control Division, which is, I believe, $42,500. And I think that's all, I think that's your whole kingdom, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just going to open up the questions now, and that's on any of the division budgets. Kim?
I have a question for Eddie about the permitting assistant. In the building and code enforcement division, underneath it says permitting assistant 14 hours a week, part-time, 2 hours a week committee work meeting, and 12 hours DIS, I don't know what that, divisional inspectional services. Is that,
Yes. If you look at the clerical up above, there has been a reduction. We kind of carved that out. That individual currently is a part-time individual, working 8 hours per week, currently out
Correct.
on maternity leave. But we actually combined this position with a position that was previously paid out of general services to take the minutes of some of the board and committee meetings. So we combined that with the additional, with the 8 hours to come up with a total of 14 hours per week.
okay, and this, the 12 of those 14 hours before fiscal 15 didn't exist?
Correct.
Is that what I,
It was currently, it's currently 8 hours.
okay, but it's currently 8 hours, but 12 of the 14 hours. The 2 hours of committee work has existed.
Yes,
Right, so in this budget, there's 12 hours that before fiscal 15 did not exist.
no, I would say that it's 6 hours. Because they're currently working 8, it's going to 14, right? 2 of those hours were out of general services. It's really a 4-hour net gain.
From fiscal 15.
Correct.
But from this current fiscal year we're in,
Yeah.
it was a new position added at 8 hours.
No, it was part of a clerical. The individual who was working those clerical hours is only allowed to work 960 hours because
Oh, okay.
the
All right.
individual is a retired state employee, and under those regulations, they're limited as to how many hours they could work. Used to be 25, now 17 and a half to 18 hours. Those hours were freed up to create this 8-hour position.
Gotcha. So it's only an increase of 4
4
hours.
hours.
Okay. Okay, I understand now.
I have a question. The current assistant town planner, there's also a grant listed, it's green energy manager. And I just wanted to know a little bit more about that grant. Is it something that is renewable? you know, what the duties of that will be, and if it's something if we didn't get a grant for in the future, we would want to accommodate for.
Sure. So the assistant town planner, we have requested 25,000, and we do currently have a green energy grant that was referred to previously. That grant is something that we've been awarded. Currently, we have that grant is how we pay the position currently. So there's a portion of planning hours and grant hours. So they do dual roles. I think one of the previously, when Chief Slucas was up here, there was a discussion regarding HVAC and some savings that may be realized at the police station. We also have that grant position is also working on the assessment for this building as well, for a conversion from oil to gas. So that position is having some funding realized from the grant funds. It's not something that is a guarantee in future years, but obviously you can see that it's very important to be able to find ways to reduce I guess, funding in other areas. So we obviously will go for more grants, but you never know if they're going to come through. That grant that he's currently working on now is due at the end of the month, so he's gearing up for that. He also will be assisting the planner for another grant for the Blackstone Valley needs as well. So there's a lot of grants out there, but we have to, have the people in the positions in order to try to go for those. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, that probably answered most of your question, but not all. What if we don't have, what if this doesn't come through next budget cycle? Have we made promises to take full salary off of this person? I mean, I know it's speculation, but
And their increased hours for this individual is a result of the award of this grant. This is a 2-year grant. At the end of 2 years, if these grant funds dry up, then that position would revert back to a 19-hour position at the $25,000 level.
okay. Was I anticipating, Mallory? Sorry. Kim, question?
Nursing services, do we contract with someone and what exactly are they providing? A flu clinic or
Sure.
that kind of thing?
Yes, to answer your question, we do contract with a public health nurse, and that, I believe that's been in place for several years now. As you may remember, we used to have the visiting, the VNA. There was savings realized going with a contracted public health nurse. That nurse takes care of all of our communicable disease notifications through the state. So the state actually has a electronic reporting Maven system, actually. And so she responds to all of our communicable disease needs. If we have outbreaks of GI or flu, she also assists for our flu clinics. Obviously, we've had, the senior flu clinic, the general flu clinic, and she also does like wellness checks. If we have somebody in the community, I can think of just a couple off the top of my head that she will actually go and try to meet with residents that may be a little bit nervous with maybe a town official coming, but somebody having a nurse come in to do a wellness check and to ask questions that may be personal in nature. Sometimes residents are a little bit more at ease with that. We've had, the nurse we're fortunate to have has over 30 years' experience and is very comfortable in the position and does it for many towns. So it's something that she does a great job for us.
How many hours a week? Or does it vary?
It varies. So she gets a set amount monthly. When we have one communicable disease a week, or we have 5 communicable diseases,
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. She gets paid the same amount. But with that, there's also the flexibility from the town side that when she doesn't have as much, she's helping us on the side when we need wellness checks. We need questions with flu billing. She does a lot for us that's not just on paper.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ed, Nathan?
No, a lot of the.
Good?
Looks good.
Okay. Yeah?
Yeah, a couple of questions. The first is on the, is to look at, there's a, let me get, the nuisance remediation line, there's a big increase in that. Can you, explain that one? Under the,
Sure. Under the Public Health Division?
Yep.
So the nuisance remediation, we have budgeted $2,500. That has, we've actually kept that as, we've had it there because we originally put it in place over the past couple of years. We have received a lot of help from the Attorney General's office for the Abandoned Housing Initiative, the AHI program, which we have had a pretty active program. That money is there in case we have to board and secure in abandoned properties. We have had a lot of good fortune with the AG's office and a lot of help from them to not have to use it at this point, because we have had their help to be able to mitigate situations with the banks and the management companies that care for these properties. So while I know that it doesn't appear that we're using it, I would hate to not have it there if we needed it. So, I would, like to keep that as a request to the board if you so choose.
I understand what you, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if I can add to that. There was an article presented at I believe, the annual town meeting to establish a revolving account for this purpose. This would serve as seed money into that revolving account. So it may not be needed immediately, but we have to set up that revolving account with some general funds in order to initiate any type of remedial action. So this would provide seed money like any other revolving account would. It's a startup. So I think that was the intent of the 2,500. So it would sit out there, and that way, any money that we're collecting or we're able to recoup as a result of some of this work that's being done would go back into the revolving account, and it would be able to draw off of that as well.
Okay, thank you, that makes sense. A couple more questions?
Sure.
One is about the de-weeding of ponds. I see there's a line item, and I know in the past we've put money in an article to take care of that. Are we addressing that this year at all? Is there a need to or not?
That's part of the stormwater management.
Oh,
If you
okay.
look at under DPW, there is a line item for
Okay.
de-weeding.
Gotcha, okay. My other question was regarding the animal control officer, and I guess we're fortunate we're able to, make use of the lending of a vehicle by the police department. I have a question, why do we put $1,500 in motor vehicle repair in that line? Because I thought it was being taken care of by by the town.
Sure. The $1,500 was put into motor vehicle repair under animal control because the vehicle that we have on loan from police is a 10-year-old vehicle, and it is it's like a Blazer type vehicle, 4-wheel drive, and definitely has lived a full life, but we need to be able to get it from point A to point B to be able to transport animals, whereas the police may have used it as a high-speed vehicle and pulling people over. We just need to be able to get the animal control officer to the call to get the animal, to address the situation and use it in town. Because the age of the vehicle, we do anticipate that there may be, there may be brakes, struts, some big money repairs. And while we have the facilities department to be able to do the repairs, we still have to pay for the parts. And so we have the savings on labor, but we still have to pay for the parts. So that's the reason for the 1,500.
Okay, thank you, that makes sense, I'm all set.
Okay, thanks, Jen.
Could I follow on that question?
Absolutely.
If there is a large repair needed to the vehicle, what's the backup plan for the animal control officer for an emergency call?
Well, currently, we have one vehicle in the department. I think you had mentioned previously with the police for the CIP. I know we have in the CIP for our department another vehicle. Right now, we have one vehicle that we use every day, but we share it between several inspectors. So we have health, we have building, we'll have another building inspector, we've got planning. So there's many needs in the department, and basically it's whoever has the furthest point to go is really how we prioritize how the car is used. So if somebody has a training outside of town, or if there's a regional meeting that one of us needs to go to, that whoever gets the vehicle need first, that's met. So we do have some mileage, request in here, and it's because there's many of us with only one vehicle. So going forward, we are hopeful to be able to add a vehicle. Obviously, we can't put a giraffe in a Honda Civic. So, we're trying to meet the needs realistically of what we have. And I think having the police generously let us use this vehicle for the time being, we're trying to plan how to back that up as we go through. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Okay.
Ed?
Kind of like a part of that question. Is that why the travel line of 6,000 from 015 dropped down to 200? Because now they have access to the separate vehicle?
Correct. So we did have a higher amount for mileage, because again, it was, we had on-call people that were using their own vehicles. So that mileage travel account has been reduced down to 200. And we've kind of offset by putting the amount, the 1,500, into the repair of the vehicle, if needed. The 200 is going to be if, God forbid, that vehicle breaks down. Does that make sense?
And additionally, I think when Amy came on board, it was at a time when this budget was being submitted, so I think the police vehicle arrangement was not made yet. I think there was an offer out there, so we knew that it needed some immediate repairs. We were able to cover that out of the FY15 budget to get the vehicle in a roadworthy condition. Thinking that some additional repairs may be done. We have no objection, quite honestly, in future years, combining this with fleet maintenance and making it part of a total budget, so. I think that's why it's a standalone, because we didn't know what the outcome was gonna be in terms of the vehicles for the new ACO.
Okay. Kim?
Eddie, can you explain the increase in 511-101?
And which division?
The first, public health.
Okay, so good. I was hoping to have an opportunity at least to pay accolades to Darlene, who has done a fantastic job since Adam left, and she's been appointed as acting department head. We expect in the coming months, very shortly, that a permanent recommendation will be made for Darlene that will come before the board. And as a result of that, she is currently compensated at a higher rate than what the 15 appropriation is showing, and it does not meet or fall shy of the FY16 recommendation that we're making. But I can tell you that when an appointment was made to her predecessor, that was a starting pay for the position. So there's an expectation based upon the salary grade and step that once the appointment is made, that a compensation equal to that amount will be made to the individual.
Okay.
All set?
I can tell you, Darlene has, if you ride by here any time at night, you're going to see that backlight on. She's spent a lot of hard hours. She's done a fantastic job. The office is very cohesive. They work together well. I can tell you, if you have any stock in Advil, you think it's going to pay high dividends, because I think Darlene's been buying large quantities of it. She's done quite the juggling act. She's quite the magician. She's done a great job. I'd like to thank her. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ed.
Any other questions? Okay. Great, so we have, town manager recommends a budget for the Department of Development and Inspectional Services of $434,489. That's a 0.97% increase over the fiscal 15 appropriation. Obviously, a lot of changes within that. Any further questions, comments, or do we have a motion on this?
Motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Can't thank you enough for helping out and just your support of the department.
Thank you.
Great.
She gonna CIP?
Yeah. Darlene, do you have any CIP?
I believe the CIP item that we have is the vehicle. We have a vehicle that,
Yeah, but that's not for 20. That was already on the radar screen.
Okay.
It's not a new item.
Right.
It's within the 5-year plan.
Okay.
Where is,
Any questions or comments on that?
yeah,
Yeah, sure.
where, under what department is the vehicle
I think,
located?
I think it was showing under planning.
planning, I believe it's under planning.
Oh, I get it. All right, yep, thank you.
In that, obviously, it's shared amongst the whole umbrella of the department, but we had to pick which one department to put it under.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, for
Yeah.
members of the committee as well, Caleb Moody, building inspector. I don't know if everyone knows Caleb. Caleb, you came to work, what month? December. Former highway employee, worked under facility management with Jimmy Beauregard. I'd like to thank him for all the work he has done in saving the town money. Estimated savings in excess of $600,000 as a result of him and Jibby's effort, and he's done a bang-up job as building inspector as well.
Excellent, thank you.
Good job.
Any other questions on the CIP? Eddie, I'm just going to assume that when I'll say the new old vehicle has had its finer and lesser days and moves on, we'll probably have an opportunity to maybe use another police vehicle that becomes surplus? Is that?
Well, I think because of the green energy designation, that makes it very difficult. So it's something we'll have to analyze, something we'll have to be cognizant of, because we don't want to jeopardize any money we're getting from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as a result of that.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Darlene, thank you. Have a great night. Good to see you. Caleb, thanks for coming. All right. Our next budget, zoning board of appeals. So we're gonna find that. Okay. The town manager recommends a budget for the ZBA of $12,794. That's a $690 increase over the prior year appropriation. That works out to be a 5.7% increase. The increase is under the administrative assistant's salary line for this. I'll open it up to any questions or comments on that.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Our next budget is solid waste.
Where's Jimmy?
Okay. The town manager recommends a solid waste budget of $959,000. This is a 0.58% increase, or $5,555. What we have here is an increase in the solid waste collection account of approximately $55,000, and a reduction in the solid waste disposal account of $50,000. Any comments or questions to Ed on this? Ed, these are final numbers, or?
I can tell you, as a result of the recent amendment with Wheeler Brader, we're anticipating roughly a $50,000 savings at the wheel. Now, we base that on a number of things, and Darlene is on top of this. She's been working with the Solid Waste Committee. But we only have 1 month at the new rate. The rate is now at $64 per ton. It was at 76 currently before the amendment. We are disposing of roughly 4,300 some odd tons per year. So if you do the math, it comes out to an annual savings of roughly $50,000. That's what we're basing our projection on. So we do have 1 month. That 1 month payment significantly went down from the old rate, so we're seeing that. And we have a little cushion built in case there are any anomalies that should result in increased tonnage, such as wet spring, flooded basements, people are throwing things out. I mean, we've seen that before. So we want to leave a little cushion in there in the event, A, we see an increase in our customer base, and 2, there may be an increase in tonnage. So we think that's a good number. On the solid waste collection, there's a recommendation that will be going to the town manager as a result of the work that Darlene and the Solid Waste Committee has done. I don't want to tell you who the vendor will be, but the low quote, the low bid was $649,000.
Okay,
Is that fair to say, Darlene?
That's correct.
good. Any
Now-
questions?
Yeah,
Mallory?
question. In the other pickup, I don't know if this is included, but last year there was a hazardous waste drive. Sorry. Is that something totally different?
Yeah, I'm sorry, can you say,
There was a hazardous waste drive last year.
oh, yes.
Is that included in this? Is there any cost to the town?
Okay, first of all, you mentioned other pickups, so let me just touch on that for a minute. That would be for any, I think if anyone discarded illegally any furniture and we had to pick it up.
Okay.
Or 2, that could be used if we have to order any more carts as a result of them being broken, they need to be repaired. The vendor is committed to supplying 50 of those per year in the contract.
That's correct.
If we have to supply any more than 50, we have to absorb that cost. In terms of the hazardous waste day, under this bid at $649, the vendor has committed to applying $4,500 per year towards a hazardous waste day. Mallory, you are correct. There has been a hazardous waste day every other year, normally funded through an outside article. We do have money that we carried over from that outside article that would allow us to have another one without going back to town meeting, asking for additional money, if we use that in conjunction with the $4,500.
Great.
So in the immediate future, we're good to go for hazardous waste day. We will not be seeking any more additional funds. And this will apply some money in the future towards that endeavor as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I just want to say I think that's a great service to the town, and there's always a wonderful turnout. So I want to thank you for putting that together.
Thank you. We think it's a great event. It's one of my favorite things to do. The planning of the event, actually having the event, and having it every other year seems to work out well with the town, and it kind of gives everybody a chance. I think having it every year, I think they looked at that, and it was cost prohibitive, because you want to have a good turnout, you want to have people come, and you want to get rid of a whole lot of hazards. So I think the vendor committing to $4,500 a year towards the event every other year really is a big help.
Great, thanks, Darlene.
You're welcome.
Ann?
Yeah, just a question, Ed, on the solid waste disposal, can you tell me, so we're starting a new contract with them? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, the current contract expires June 30th of 15.
Okay, what is the term length of our new contract?
It will be a 3-year term with a 2-year option.
Thank you.
Okay, Kim?
Eddie, does the fees paid by residents, how much of the solid waste collection disposal does it?
With these adjustments, we're basically at a break even right now. If you look at our total tonnage, it appears that we're really operating at a deficit of about $39,000. But roughly 400 tons, 430 tons, it comes out to about $29,000 per year, is picked up at our public facilities, that being schools, that being all our public buildings. So if you subtract that out, the fee is basically covering the cost of the service.
Because it didn't used to do that, correct?
Correct, and we did an increase a couple of years ago and realigned that.
And it's
Yes.
still in line?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's a good point, Kim, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we have a request for $959,000 for solid waste. So motion?
Motion to recommend.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Darlene, thanks again.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
very
filling
much.
us in. Okay, moving right along, our next department budget is Human Resources. The Human Resource budget or department, which actually just started in fiscal 13, town manager recommends a budget of $49,263. That's a 1.79% increase over fiscal 15's appropriation. I'll open it up to questions or comments.
Motion to recommend.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so voted. Thank you. Okay, and our last budget of the evening, unless I missed something, is Town Hall. Okay, Town Hall, the town manager recommends a budget of $30,200, which is flat funded from prior year. This is largely equipment maintenance, rental, and supplies. Any questions, comments on this? Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Okay, that finishes up our budgets for the evening. We had minutes from January 29th, 2014. Any questions or corrections on those? Okay, that's great. We're moving right along here. Once again, and that actually fills our agenda for the evening, we've got schools coming in next week. Do we have any other departments coming in?
I haven't asked anybody else. I didn't know whether you wanted DPW that same night. That's kind of a lot.
I think it was fire.
Fire can't come till April 1st.
Okay, so maybe if we can get DPW in with fire?
No, that's,
Well,
Or is,
you're going to address that.
what's that?
yeah, well, we had this discussion. That's the second night of town.
Oh, yeah, that's right, too. So let's step back to that now. Thanks for the reminder on it. Because of the, I'll call it a faux pas regarding our special town meeting, the second part of the show, the doubleheader, is going to be on Wednesday, April 1st at 7 o'clock. I don't think it's going to be a long meeting. And what I think we need to do is schedule our regular budget meeting after that. And because we would be scheduling after our normal 7 o'clock, you're right, I don't want to load up that night. Now, Chief Coleman coming in on that, I don't know if we're going to be able to basically keep his words down to a minimum, but we're going to have to take a chance on that. What I'd like to put out to the board is the town manager had suggested she certainly could find a place for us at the high school to meet if we chose to. My suggestion, and we sometimes are a democracy, so we can vote on it, would be to actually have the meeting back up here, a more comfortable environment, and also, I believe we'd be able to televise it too. But I'll leave that open. We could either meet down in the big communication room they have at the high school, I think we can get that, or come up here, 15, 20 minutes after whenever the end of the special town meeting. What's your thoughts on that? Ed?
I like coming back here.
Okay. I mean, to me, it's comfortable, I believe. Chris, if we came back here, logistically, would that be a televised meeting? Yeah. Back here? It would be, okay. Which I think I would prefer to do anyways. Mallory, your thoughts? Do you mind? You'd be going the wrong way home, but that's the way it goes, I guess, right? Kim's a little closer to home. I can't believe she'd have a problem with that.
When we post the meeting,
Yeah,
we
post
just post it for both places?
Actually, I think what we would do is for our meeting, we'd post it for, say, 8 o'clock.
Right, I don't think you would need to meet before town meeting.
No, not the second one. We don't need to meet before that.
They need to.
I don't know,
post the
do you
meeting.
want to meet before the Tuesday meeting? You've recommended on all your articles, so do you think you need a meeting before either?
No, I can't believe any reason that we would need to meet before
So
that.
we just post it for 8
Yeah,
o'clock
for
here?
8 o'clock here.
8 o'clock here. If that runs late, there's going to be hell to pay if that runs late. So we would just start our meeting late, and hopefully we'll have enough time to, head the 2 miles or mile up the street to get here for an 8 o'clock meeting on April 1st.
When do we have to be done to get this to the printer?
Well, there was some discussion by the BO Board of Selectmen that we tried to get the warrant to town meeting at least 10 days in advance, rather than the week.
7.
So that puts less time on the clock, so we'd have to take a look at that.
Probably by the 15th, I would say, would be the last.
Of April?
So we could still meet on the 15th and wrap things up.
Yeah, I
mean,
think if you could wrap up.
we are moving right along. This is around the time we also, especially with Bay Path, we decide whether we need to invite them in or want to invite them in or not. And I'll leave that up to the board. We're pretty much stuck with their budget. But
If
So
you-
what do we have left? We have schools, fire,
fire, DPW,
DPW, library.
library, and once again, Bay Path. And I think that's it, if we choose to bring in John and Dean.
Perhaps we could have the librarian come in right before the school department speaks.
Yeah. Sharon, would library be available for next?
I can check who would be able to come.
The librarian right before the school department?
And the library may be a tough one.
Why?
Director is not available.
Oh,
Uh,
okay,
Then that will have to wait.
yeah. We'll have to ask
Unless
you.
the trustees want to come in and
No, I would rather the director in, so that's, like I said, we have till the 15th, and if we're just wrapping up with DPW and maybe the library and that's it, then I think we're pretty comfortable with that. That's only fair. I will remind, I will not be available on the Wednesday, the 8th, which is another date in there, and I don't know necessarily,
How long do we have to set aside for the schools?
in terms of time.
I don't know how long their presentation is going to be.
Who else were you
Typically, they
thinking of?
probably give a 20-minute
You
presentation.
need to do DPW, don't you want to be here for that? Because
Yeah, well, I'm thinking the 15th. It'd be our last evening, right?
I thought they were saying that was had to be done.
No, I think we can have one on the, I think we have to wrap things up on the 15th.
Okay.
That's the reason why I was saying that, and I do want to be here for that. It's always good to hear, from Bill Coyle and how things are going there. By then, maybe we have final numbers on snow and ice. God, I hope so.
So we won't have a meeting on the 8th?
Yeah, when,
Well,
We
we
can have a meeting.
still can, I just
No,
will
I
not be
mean-
here. And
Do we
that's
have to do CIP too?
and
Can
Sharon,
we do
remind,
CIP next week after schools, maybe?
and Sharon reminded us we need to go through the warrant too.
warrant article. That's right, too.
But that's, yeah, that would be at the end. Would we want to do the CIP at the end? Because I assume we want to ask some about the fire department CIP issues.
What's the likelihood of having two next week, schools and DPW?
And DPW?
That's what I was,
Start the meeting, is it possible to start the meeting at 6?
I can do 6.
Is that okay? Then that's fine. Who gets stuck coming at 6, though? DPW or?
Well, we can toss it out there.
But yeah, we
Takes the pressure off a little bit, I think.
Yep, I forgot about the town meeting articles. That'll take a little
And
while.
that way, while DPW is in, you can ask any questions relative to CIP.
And then fire the following week, and then you'll be pretty much done, so you can do.
And you may want to
The
squeeze in
schools.
CIP the night you do fire.
Yeah. That's what I'd do too.
Yeah. No, that's
Did-
works out fine.
Is Billy Coyle available? Do you know?
I don't know, but I will check.
All right, we'll try to make that work. If you have no objections on doing it at
No,
6.
that's fine.
No, that's fine, and hopefully we can schedule that all in. Excellent. That's great. Anything else? Anything new, exciting? Jimmy's going to be not joining us for a little while longer, which is too bad. Jim, get better soon, will you? And I guess that's it. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you.